Hey, hi, it's Friday night. It's Tory Magoo. Thank you for coming by. And once again, Mr. Anonymoose and his buddy from Norway, too. Here they are. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to turn down the stones. Hang on. Anyway, we're just having a very good time here, but I'm glad you guys liked the OT7 session. I was doing it intentionally very quietly for a couple of reasons. One, I have a roommate and that has a room down the way, and I didn't want to wake them up. And also, I wanted to kind of show you the secrecy of it. I mean, it's kind of funny for you guys because it's all over the net. But again, for people in the Truman Show, they've never heard this stuff. It's all top secret. You only get a level at a time, right? You never hear the next level. You never know what it is. And even when you're on the level, you are totally not allowed to talk to anyone about it except the supervisor in a confidential course room. So it's pretty insidious. It really is. It's pretty tricky because, it's just tricky because you don't have anyone that you can ever talk to about it. So when you're in, everyone looks like they're having a great time. They're all having these wins and successes. Then when you get out, like when you leave Scientology and you meet other OTs, they're like, oh yeah, that didn't work for me either. And many different things happen to each of us. It was amazing how, one person will get run on something, another person will get run on something else. It's pretty wild to find out how non-standard it is, because they're always promoting about how standard tech it is. But it isn't really. So, what is our question for Mr. Anonymous for tonight? What is your question? He's got a million questions. No, let's see. What is the question for tonight? What do you guys most want to hear about? I think you want to hear some more about the OT level. So I'm going to go over that a little bit more. Right, Mr. Anonymous? I think you guys didn't really get to hear enough about it. So we're going to go over that a little bit more. So I want to go over this. First of all, OT3 is where you get pneumonia. That's where Hubbard said if anybody reads this, there's a good chance they could, if you're not ready for it and set up for it, you can get pneumonia. Now, I've been in a huge church with 500 people, and not one person got pneumonia, and they all burst out laughing. And many, many people around the world have read OT3 and haven't gotten sick. The people that say they got sick afterwards, to me, I think it's just a coincidence. But anyway, that's that. And so if you're worried about it, then don't listen to the rest of this. But I don't really think it's a big problem. OT3 is where they bring in Xenu, right? That's where Hubbard entered Xenu, right? And the BTs and clusters. Now, the difference in OT3 and OT5 is called knots, right? New Era for Dianetics for OTs, right? And knots, Hubbard says, these body thetans are unconscious. So you have to wake them up, right? So that's the difference. The OT3 BTs that you ran on OT3 were somehow conscious, which is a little weird in itself. But now the OT5 ones are unconscious, and you have to wake them up and find out who they are or what they are, right? And then hopefully they will take off, like I said. Now, also, besides BTs, there are what are called clusters. A cluster is a group of body thetans that have all come together, and they're a big group of clusters, right? So you might be locating a BT, or you might be locating this big cluster of BTs. There's a lot of different varieties to it. Remember I told you that there are. The other thing on OT7 that is huge, they have a correction list. So if, let's say, they don't take off, then you start assessing or going down and reading off this correction list to find out, maybe they were upset, maybe they had a problem, maybe it's the wrong indication, maybe it's a million different things, right? And you find what it is, then supposedly then they take off. Also, some people do more than one BT in a session. That was just one example of one BT. But sometimes, depending on how you're feeling, you might look around for another one and find something else. But you can see for someone like me with epilepsy, trying to handle that with these BTs and clusters, I mean, the truth of the matter, this is my own reality on it, is really, when I looked at it after I left, the truth is you are creating something that you think is a body thetan. Enough so, you're putting enough energy into it that it reads on a meter, or like a lie detector. It has to read, right? So that's a lot of energy right there, right? Then you've got to find out what identity is that thing, and that's got to read, right? And then you've got to indicate it to them, and that's got to do what they call an FN, where the needle just floats back and forth, right? That's an awful lot of energy. And then you got to get the thing to go away, right? So all of that is in one session. Now, unfortunately, as I've told you, a lot of people die, especially on these upper OT levels. And I've talked to some auditors who were trained auditors who audited and corrected people who were on these levels. And we were talking about why are there so many deaths on, especially OT 5, 6, and 7. Mainly 5 and 7, because 6 is a training routine. And we both agreed, medical science has agreed, if you picture, what you envision for your body can often affect your body. So if you envision 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that you're covered with dead space aliens, it can affect you. I mean, to me, I don't think I ever really bought into it that much, so I didn't drop dead. But some people obviously did. And they did just literally die. It was amazing. So it's a pretty insidious level. It costs a ton of money. It isn't $75,000 up front, but it ends up being that because you have to keep coming back. I was on it for 7 years. You have to go twice a year for 6-month checks. You have to pay for that. You have to fly there, pay for that. You have to live in their accommodations. That costs a ton of money. It's a very expensive process and exhausting. The only thing that's good about it is you see your friends, and that keeps you going. Like seeing Mr. Anonymoose on Friday nights. There's something nice about friends and having them around and seeing them. One of the really odd things on 7, all of us agreed, we could live within blocks of each other and we would never see each other except on our 6-month check at Flag in Clearwater, Florida. And we would say, you have to promise me we're going to get together. Okay, I promise. And we'd promise. And then you know what? Those 6 months would go by, and then we'd see him at Flag. So we were having a lot of fun with it. We used to call it camp, because it felt like camp. It was actually kind of fun for a while, until David Miscavige took over and said, that's it on all the fun, camp's over, tore down all these things off the wall, said, we are dealing with the business public. That's our target audience, because they have the money, right? So you guys are going to start dressing really nice, and looking really nice, and, no more fun, da-da-da-da. So that was sort of the end of the real party time for all of us on OT7. And needless to say, most of us didn't like David Miscavige too much, and I still don't. I think he's an absolute weenie. And I'll say it to your face, DM, you are fucked. And I'm happy to say it, and I hope it didn't hurt anybody's ears, but he is. And I'm very happy for Anonymous. Thank you so much for taking a stand on this. We're going to have a great party on March 15th, and I hope you're inviting your friends, all right? I will talk to y'all soon. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.